A jailed Iranian activist was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize today, but Narges Mohammadi wasn't there to receive the honor. Instead, she began a new hunger strike from her prison cell as the prize was handed to her family. CBC's Albert De La Talla has the details.
The two teenage children of Narges Mohammadi accepted the award on her behalf at Oslo City Hall. The renowned Iranian activist was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize back in October. Today, the head of the Norwegian Nobel Committee said the award recognizes her courageous fight for freedom and human rights over 3 decades and for taking leadership when a wave of protests swept over Iran. Mohammadi is now 51 and ever since the 1990s has advocated for women's rights and democracy. She has long campaigned against the compulsory wearing of the hijab and the use of the death penalty in Iran. As I said, her children, they received that award on her behalf, and they actually read the Nobel Peace Prize lecture smuggled out of the notorious prison where their mother is currently being held. In that speech, the jailed Mohammadi wrote that she will continue to fight for human rights even if it leads to her death. Mohammadi has spent much of the past 2 decades in and out of jail. The head of the Norwegian Nobel Committee, Berit Reiss-Andersen, she spoke about Mohammadi's continuing activism even while imprisoned.
She is imprisoned, but not silenced. She continues her activism from behind the walls. She engages her fellow inmates in education, dancing, singing, and protests. She has organized protests against the sexual violence and torture experienced by prisoners in the women's ward.
Mohammadi has been sentenced to a total of 31 years in prison. Her family revealed yesterday that she is now beginning a hunger strike from her prison cell in solidarity, they said, with the Baha'i religious minority. The award does bring mixed emotions for her teenage children, Ali and Kiana Rahmani, both 17. Kiana talked yesterday about potentially never seeing her mother again and also how valuable her mother's efforts have been. She said, quote, "This is exactly what my mother is fighting for. It's so that tomorrow in Iran, I have as many rights as my brother. But in the end, the women life freedom movement is synonymous with democracy, because if equality isn't respected between women and men, then we cannot have a functioning democracy." The Nobel Committee head says this year's Nobel Peace Prize honors not just Mohammadi, but also what she calls the brave women in Iran and around the world who fight for basic human rights and for an end to the discrimination and the segregation of women. Albert De La Talla, CBC News, Toronto.